Welcome to the forecast for August 2023. A very complex month, very interesting, very difficult from an energetic reading point of view to put into words, but that's what I do. My name is Jona Bryndis. I do this professionally. I read and report about collective energy so people can take this information and make better choices for their lives, maybe get inspired to look at things from a different perspective and investigate life from a new vantage point, which is fundamentally what we all need to overcome, especially those recurring issues in our life. Now, with this forecast comes an alignment. This is basically the energies of August encapsulated, not just the impulses that come in through August, but especially the counter energies, the things that we need to energetically focus on. And this happens not through, our knowledge or through our rational thinking. This happens through our subconscious. All or most of our decisions, unless we trained self-mastery, are determined by our subconscious and forces from the outside that are working through us and influencing our ability to see reality, our ability to change, and with it also the way we see our reality and ourselves in it. And so with this alignment, you will notice the cosmic heart brings in a metaphoric speech, these transCODES, in this energy alignment. They speak to your heart. They speak to that part in you, that spiritual part in you, not the physical heart, the spiritual heart, if you will, your spiritual brain, that in conjunction with these energies that are coming in now, so they stay. Once they come in, they stay. They are just in the foreground now here in August, sending very important impulses to us that we will then need for later. So this cosmic heart impulse that is coming in spiritual science called the Christ impulse, brings forth a very potent combination of cosmic impulses that invite us to embrace transformation and empower us through deep introspection. This is the heart mind that I sometimes describe, this fusion of our consciousness soul and our feeling soul. Very, very interesting, very, very deep, therefore also triggering lots of, emotions for most, simply because they are not fully able yet to discern, what is an emotion, what is a feeling, and what comes from me, what comes from others or the outside. This is all part of the task for August. Why? Because August comes in with a sort of big storm energy. This is a very challenging month in that it triggers these emotions, these explosive emotions in conjunction or perhaps rooted in some spiritual conflicts that we are not fully aware of because we haven't fully integrated this yet. This is the biggest part of our journey, and most of you will agree that many of the issues that we're experiencing nowadays, be it in our societies, politics, global health, global economy, Earth's changes, etc., cannot be resolved with the ratio, through cognition alone. Cognition is faulty. Yeah, the height of our intellectual development was like 2,500 years ago. So we're just really reiterating old algorithms without updating them according to the times that we're in. And the times that we're in, they require us to bring in our feeling, to bring in this impulse, yeah, that lives within us, this seed that lives within us, that wants us to feel and to think and to experience life, not just as a consequence of random atoms colliding, but also not just as a mystical experience, but both together, this unified heart mind. So, and that is very spiritual, very challenging here in August, and lead to a course correction in us. So you will and can use this to empower yourself physically, but this requires a little bit of foresight here. So these impulses will ask us to consciously choose the reality that we want to align ourselves to, yeah, that we want to live in, yeah, whether we are aligning ourselves to growth or whether we try to maintain the old. That is the question here. And when it comes to those deep questions, yeah, that hint at the spiritual meaning of things, yeah. So questions that contain things such as happiness and peace and fulfillment and love. Those are essentially spiritual questions. They're not material questions, yeah, which means the tools that we're using to investigate those questions in our lives must be adapted. They must grow with it. We must develop these organs that help us to process these kind of questions, yeah, not just for our personal journey, but also for our collective, for the human collective altogether, because we will not be able to resolve these issues at hand without a shift in the way we see things and the way we deal with things. And you see here in the slide what eats your soul. This leans onto the energy alignment that has a passage in there where it reminds us that when we devolve, when we choose to not grow, yeah, we devolve, and that fundamentally eats our soul. So there are very deep aspects here, as you can see. And just a quick remark, if you hear these noises in the background, there's tons of cicadas, crickets in the background, and tree frogs. So they are joining us here from my healing tent in Florida. So the cosmic heart provides us with the impulse to consciously grow and evolve beyond what our ego can know. And this is obviously the problem, because if our ego cannot know something, it gets scared. So the ego is afraid of the unknown, which is one of the biggest hindrances for us to follow our natural impulse to grow. Yeah, we all want to grow, but then when it comes to making the changes or embracing the changes that are needed to grow, we falter. And that's something that we can experience as a deep pain with this, as a soul pain, as I describe it in the alignment. And this soul pain then basically provides the force that eventually becomes so great that we can overcome the fear of the unknown, that we can overcome our ego and its payoffs. And with it also the forces that work through us, working with our ego and therefore holding us back. This is a big theme here in August, along with some of these themes that I've already outlined in the forecast. Here summarized the themes that I could identify throughout the attunement for August with you, which is always a little different than the forecast itself. The forecast is more or less for the entire collective. This relates more to, let's say, my audience, people who are spiritually interested, who are on this journey already, who are following this cosmic heart impulse for a while, consciously or unconsciously, but who already have a certain level of literacy in regard to what this journey is and where it leads. So these inner themes have to do with, now after months of processing, first mental processing, then emotional processing, and analyzing and mentalizing, we need to stop this. This comes to a sudden halt, guys, so you don't actually have to sit there and tell yourself to stop it. I mean, maybe you do, because the ego has that tendency to keep repeating things in loops, like a tape recording that goes on in the background. But this will stop by itself, because there will be so many new things that will sort of put a wrench into your gears, into that thinking machine. And this will give you a perfect opportunity to first and foremost arrive in what is, accept what is. So this does not mean that you have to suck up things. This means stop going back into the past and saying, oh, it's so hard for me because that pulls your energy into the past. And it's very, very important, guys, that we are fully present in the now. This is a completely new energy that is coming in here for humanity, that we just have not experienced like this, not even our ancestors. So there is no point in going back. I'm not saying that none of that matters. Obviously, it has shaped us and it has formed the way we see reality. But trust me, you're going to have to give up how you want to see reality anyway. This is no longer viable. So you'll see a lot of people leaving the planet now because this transformation isn't for everybody. Not everybody signed up for it. Well, you did sign up for it. You're here. And the challenges and opportunities that come with this is what I, on a weekly basis here report about. But when it comes to the forecasts, I look a little farther and I look at, these bigger fields that we are standing in, and there is a wonderful new impulse that this transformation brings in. Something that I have been waiting, for example, for all my life, and that is to finally arrive at a place where it's okay to operate on this heart-mind level, where your mind and your heart are working together to think and feel and experience life. And for the first time, this may actually make sense to you. Yeah. So there's something very beautiful seated in here, namely the purpose of that. Like, why is it so important to consciously think, feel, and experience life? Yeah. So we'll get to that as we go. Yeah, in my weekly energy talks and workshops and so forth, I constantly talk about these things in detail. Now, another theme here is attentiveness. Yeah, we really need to watch what we invest our energy into. So how do we invest energy? We invest energy by giving something attention. So let's say if you go to work, for like 8 hours plus commute, whatever, every day, that means 1/3 of your total life is spent with that work. A little more than half of your wake life, which is a lot of attention that goes into that place. Then you really want to make sure that, since you're paying the majority of your attention to that this is worthwhile. Yeah, so October comes with this sort of worthwhile question. Is this worthwhile for me? Is the energy that I put into this really worth it? Regardless of, and this is the hardest part for us, yeah, of how much we already have invested. So this is particularly say important in regard to, let's say, relationships, yeah, where we find ourselves at a place where we realize, well, this relationship isn't really growing in the way I would like to grow. It's holding me back. Yeah, then there comes this fear, and there comes this inertia that we don't want to let go of something because we've put so much into this. Yeah, you got to pay a lot of attention to this, because when you make choices based on how much you've put into this in the past, you are no longer aligned to the future. Yeah, so this needs to match up. This needs to align to your true values and to your true needs and wants, based on who you are now, not based on who you were then. Okay. Yeah, this is the true self component. And as we are contemplating this and reevaluating this, a lot of false self issues are coming up. Yeah, where we realize how much we have spent with, forming this persona, or keeping things within a certain framework, within a certain sort of way it looks from the outside. And here the antidote is to embrace change, because change is like an upgrade, if you will. Yeah, you can tell that I used to be in IT. Then emotional and spiritual overwhelm cannot be remedied with like more thinking or being more rational about something, or if you more the other type, becoming more emotional about it, and and being even more sad about something. All right, this is not going to do anything for you. So it's important that you understand that the times that we're headed in here collectively, that find sort of their seeding here in August, are going to be challenging for all of us. Please review the forecast 23 till 27 on my YouTube channel. So there's obviously a light at the end of the tunnel, but we have to understand that transformation, like these big changes, and especially when it's collective, that means when like fundamental values in our society are changing, that this isn't all just happy. Okay, there's a lot of things that need to go. There's a lot of things that need to fall apart, and there's a lot of things that need to be revealed. And these revelations, yeah, as we've been seeing this in the last months and years, really, you know, are quite shocking. They're so shocking that it is hard to believe. And August will blow your socks off. You will not believe this, even if you see it black on white. So that can lead to a spiritual emotional overload where you just feel so disappointed, so betrayed, that it is hard for you to, you know, live with that collapse of a reality. So understand that all this is just part of a big correction process. Yeah. And if understood correctly, then that correction, and this is like how it works in our personal lives as well, if we embrace a correction and see the purpose of it and pinpoint the things that weren't aligned, yeah, where we didn't act in our truth, where we didn't come from our love, but where we came from our fear or our pain. Yeah, that if that's understood and you actively work on using this, utilizing this to increase your ability to manifest, okay, then you can make wonderful things happen for you. Yeah, so really what is happening here is a big cleanup before, you know, you can plant new plants, new flowers into your backyard. That's what this is. And when you're part of this, you know, cleanup process, and you realize, you know, I don't know if you've ever had this, but you realize how much dirt has actually accumulated. Yeah, this isn't usually aware to us until we do this sort of deep cleaning. Yeah, then, yeah, we get shocked sometimes. But all this is just there to really help us to purify and cleanse so that we can move into these higher levels of consciousness, these higher vibrations that we are longing for so much. But we're still longing for them in a childlike way. We want them to come to us like Santa Claus. And this is not how higher consciousness works. Higher consciousness works through us seeking it, through us doing the work. And one of these things that are, or aspects that are pertinent for us collectively here in this day and age, yeah, besides, you know, allowing our spiritual sensing, our spiritual feeling to become more systematic, if you will, less superstitious, you know, more reproducible for ourselves and more intentive, is to empower the feminine, is to empower the feminine in our societies, which we all know right now is devolving, but also within ourselves. So what do feminine energies stand for? Feminine energies stand for renewal and destruction, by the way. Yeah, yes, birth and death. But more so for the ability to give something that wants to grow, the the space, the platform, and the nourishment. And we have to understand that it is our feminine energies that are connected with the spiritual impulses in us. They connect us with love. So spirituality is fundamentally an offshoot of love. And if we have a hard time with expressing love and bringing love into, I want to say, everyday thoughts and sentiments, if we are reigned by fear and by anger and hatred, yeah, and, you know, negativity and competition and comparison and judgment. Yeah, those are all things that eat our soul. Those are all things that deflate, that devolve this soul impulse in us, that works through us through the cosmic heart. So feminine energies are basically the ones that grow the soul food in us. And that's why, as a whole collective, but also as individuals, we need to pay attention to them, because if they come out of balance in our life and our relationships, then it's very difficult for us to see, what the purpose of those energies and the traits and so forth that come with that can be. And without meaning a purpose of something, it's very difficult for us to consciously embark or invest into it, because then it's just sort of blind faith. And there are some areas in our life where blind faith is appropriate. But when it comes to this task that we all have here, namely to consciously develop spirituality through our own internalized experience and insight, yeah, then that requires vast amounts of self-mastery, because we first need to be able to master our thinking. Most of us have no idea who and how our thoughts come about. We just have them, we just sort of pick them up, yeah, but we are not aware of the actual thinking process. So this is something that needs to be addressed in self-mastery. And the same applies to our emotions. Not only do we mix up emotions and feelings and sensations most of the time, we basically aren't able to sort our emotions and process them yet in a way that they can be there, and that we allow ourselves to feel them, but without them dominating our energy. So this whole talk about consciousness work and energy awareness, it has to do with recognizing how things work in us, understanding ourselves a little better, so that we can more consciously regulate all of this. And lastly, we need to be able to master our body. Yeah, the physical health. This is a very, very important issue here for the rest of 2023. And I can already give you a heads up here that in September, we really need to stay on our toes here, because we have another kind of global health situation. I wouldn't go as far as like another pandemic, so don't worry on that level, but we will recognize how much we, well, to say it straight up, have been poisoned, yeah, through processed foods and, added chemicals in our air, in our water, and, in crops, etc. So there is, not to mention vaccines, there is a lot in that regard going on in September. You will know that you really, really need to up your game in regard to your metabolism and your digestion and everything that you ingest. Yeah. But that aside, really what it is, by the way, this is also coming through feminine energies in you, is this genuine level of self-care and what you ingest, what you put in. But that aside, what really amps up here in August is this awareness of what these forces are that are working through us in form of emotions, in form of thoughts, mostly thoughts, guys. Even though August can get very emotional, most of these emotions will come to you in form of sadness and loneliness. So people will tend to internalize them, and it isn't until sort of the end of the month that they will then come to sort of an explosive kind of release. Yeah, so even though that's not in the foreground for the first 3 weeks, but I can tell you that, you know, if you don't understand your own emotions, if you don't understand your own temptations and your coping mechanisms, and why your head says one thing and, you know, your gut says another thing, and you know, you end up doing different things from what you wanted to do or wanted to say, yeah, then that needs to become more conscious. That is what consciousness work is. So it's not about pointing fingers and finding justifications and reasons why we do this, or you know, what the causes are. It's about understanding yourselves so that you can have more compassion for all of this, that you can accept things, you know, as they are. Yes, this is how I grew up. Yes, these are the conditions that shaped me. But here I am. I am a conscious soul self. Yeah, I can see this now. I know that all I really need to do is to change the conditions in the present, in the now. Yeah, and the way we can do this is by facing all these unconscious things, these fears, yeah, and also, you know, these energies that we absorb or that we project. Yeah, we all project energies, but if these energies are in such of such nature that they reflect our negativity, say, or our fear, then we attract more of that. And this is then why our manifestation, you know, doesn't work, because we're not actually fully aware of what we're putting out there. So conscious manifestation, guys, is a big deal. Yeah, and August is a wonderful month for conscious manifestation, but we really need to be willing to face our fears, and these fears, they come in through darkness, yeah, that shows us where we are, well, not congruent, where we're not integrous, where we're not loving, where we're not courageous, where we're not, you know, acting according to our higher potential. And yes, nobody likes that. Nobody wants that. But that deep introspection is needed in August to make sense of this. So collectively, this incredibly complex month brings in decisive new developments that will lead to permanent societal changes through, on the one hand, you know, all this inner stuff that comes up and that we need to work with, but also through visible global power struggles. There is a very high chance of huge scandals, huge revelations on the level of presidents, not just in the United States. Changes, sudden changes in leaderships and alliances, in combination with unforeseen events and surprising elements. So August has, you know, like the finger, like the hand of God. It has sort of this higher pay grade energy to it. Yeah, that's why I called it a cosmic affair in the forecast. Yeah, where basically the boss intervenes and, you know, makes a decision without consulting anybody else. So this cosmic impulse being referred to here can be seen as a germinating seed that is about to unfold in us humans. So that is what we fundamentally need to recognize as, you know, what drives us forward. We sometimes say the source that brought us into existence. Yeah, this impulse does not originate solely from 3D events. So it's not just about what happens around you, but rather echoes from a larger cosmic and spiritual realm. Now, those of you guys who are interested in astrology, or if you're not, but read this up. There was a phenomenal constellations here in this month and continuing. So individuals will experience this as the activation of our cosmic heart, leading to higher levels of understanding of ourselves and the world. This activation will come in waves. So this is something when we go through the important dates here that you will see very clearly, mostly in the second part of the month, framed by 2 full moons that will illuminate our true feelings and reveal what needs correction. So as our feeling soul seeks to unite with our consciousness soul, I mentioned this earlier, forming this united heart mind, we will feel a pull into a more creative and feminine aspects, often represented by our spiritual interests. Now, if you are, say, 40, 45 and older, you have gone through massive ridiculing, yeah, and perhaps even shaming because of your spiritual interests. This is changing now. I mentioned this many times, but you also need to change this within yourself. Yeah. So the pull into spirituality alone is not enough. This is what we see in New Age. New Age is sending people to the wrong exit. It's fundamentally, a dark force behind that, because it leads people to believe that, there's nothing they need to do, and basically keeps them in a passive state. Yeah, this is far from true. So this evolution needs to be chosen. It needs to be consciously chosen and actualized. Yeah, so it's not enough, yeah, to harmonize with our 3D needs. We still need to turn stone into breads, stones into bread. We still need to make our living, and that requires us to make compromises from time to time. So the overall task is to think and feel, yeah, or to feel and think for yourself, making your choices more intentional. So attentiveness and intentiveness are key to navigating these chaotic energies in August. Resist the urge to jump to conclusions, especially those that project black and white thought structures, yeah, such as, oh, I have no other choice, or this is the only thing I can do, or if I do this, then I'm going to lose everything. Yeah, this all or nothing thinking. Now, your inner dialogue creates the manifestation fields around you. Remember this. So recognize that your thinking and feeling are not fully internalized yet. That it's just the state of consciousness that we're all in. We cannot trust our mind, yeah, because it's fallible. It isn't until we conjoin it with our heart, with that, spiritual brain in us, that we can actually, consciously think our thoughts for ourselves. So this is what we train here. Yeah, that's what's meant with consciousness training. Yeah, so the impulse to consciously train your attention and perception is now guiding you to withstand the growing coldness and materialism in our world. So in other words, those of you who have been training this, you have much higher levels of discernment already. But remember that the purpose of your evolving consciousness is not to elevate yourself over others, but to see yourself as part of this cosmic affair, yeah, playing out through us humans here on Earth. So this is a wonderful esoteric metaphor here, because as above, so below. If you fully internalize this, you realize that everything that we go through as individuals, as collective, is really part of a above. It's part of of a process that goes on, say, in a different realm, or in a sort of more transdimensional version as well. Yeah. So as we are being pulled into this, yeah, we need to recognize our spiritual potential and act accordingly. And it will ask us to choose our reality. And that's the part here that's tricky for all of us. This is where a lot of us have fears. Yeah, this fear of making mistake, the fear of losing. All I can say to you guys is you need to muster the courage to overcome your fear, because that fear is going to hold you back by doing nothing. So if you don't do anything, you're gonna devolve. All right. So I know our psyche doesn't like that, and our ego likes it even less. But go out there, try new things, make lots of mistakes. That is what leads to growth. Okay. So option A, yeah, is choosing a reality of increasing fear, doubt, and material survival impulses with excessive coping. Yeah, that leaves you empty without meaning and purpose. Option 2 of choosing a reality is a reality that has externalized ideals, yeah, the other extreme, the alternate spiritual realities, yeah, like everything's going to be fine, we're going to get rescued, you know, we don't need to worry about anything, with blind followers seeking escape from, you know, these negative feelings that come in through desperation and hopelessness. Option number 3 is a reality shaped through internalized soul self-awareness. Yeah, through you recognize that you are the one that experiences this reality, and also through the courage to face and overcome inner and outer hindrances. Yeah, so your united heart mind, guys, yeah, which on a higher pay grade level is called the cosmic heart, is formed out of your overcoming pain and suffering with love. Yeah, this ability, this unique ability that we have as humans due to the power of consciousness and this divine Christ impulse, is capable of transmuting pain into love. And that's what we need to choose. So there is a lot here that was in these few paragraphs, guys, and so I don't want to bore you and go deeper into this. We have, all these energy talks throughout the month. They are free. They're on Skype Live. It's like Zoom. You come there, just link in. You don't even need to have a special link, just a group where this is, yeah, and allow yourself to actively engage in the soul self experience. For those of you who have been training this for a while, recognize that this is a conscious course correction. There is a time capsule buried here. It is something that needs to be corrected that, came or with a plant. The seed was planted in 2015. So, and this is a correction, sort of a halfway mark of something that started in 2015. Remember that all sicknesses of the human soul are essentially the pain of not trusting in the love the divine self has for us. Very important. So summarizing here, the main focus is for the courage to face your darkness. The main challenge in August is going to be letting go of the illusion of control. And the main opportunity is conscious manifestation. Here, just real brief before I go into the personal readings now. The collective vibrations very low, yeah, very low here on the level of, even below apathy, guilt, so disappointment, betrayal, and that triggers a lot of fear. But at the same time, this is very interesting from an energetic point of view. The way this looks like the phi symbol, the Greek letter phi. You can Google this, what this means. Very cool code. Triggering all this sort of these seeds that are already in us here now to pop open. Yeah. Here you see how these resonances play out in these individual dimensions of self on the physical level. And this is probably the most challenging for people, is the need for understanding the nature of your darkness. Yeah, to understand what pulls you so low, understand what makes you sick, physically sick, emotionally sick, and mentally sick, because ultimately that all ends up in the physical as the densest layer of who you are. Now, emotionally, this is a time to learn resilience, to learn how to grow beyond your own fear and to prove it to yourself. This is a beautiful opportunity. Those of us who have had adverse situations or phases in life that we needed to actively work with know this. It may be challenging in the moment, but it is extremely rewarding when you can look back and say, it's because I chose this. This was a decisive moment when I went through my divorce, or when I got this diagnosis, or when I lost my job, or when I decided to start something new. Those are decisive moments, and we want to make sure that we do this in the most conscious way possible. Yeah, and this requires resilience. Here, mentally, we have this issue with our thought constructs that keep telling us that no, now we can't let this go because we've already put so much into it. You know, that that would nullify our investments in the past. It's a very common investment mistake. Yeah, we're talking energy here. We're talking consciousness. We're talking our minds. So we're talking thought patterns, and this is the part that will come in. There's a certain, you know, it resonates on the level of pride, you know, of not wanting to admit ourselves that the very thing that we put so much energy into, be it through our attentions or through working for it or whatever, is no longer adequate or appropriate or no longer what we want. Instead, and this is cool here when you look at these spiritual impulses that come in, we will have, and this is quite interesting for some of you here, a very interesting new experience of our spiritual self. Yeah, this cosmic heart impulse that is coming in is really sort of popping this on. So yeah, if you have been a seeker for a long time, this could be interesting for you in August. It will also help you with the self-expression. So you see here the red and the bright blue arrow are the biggest ones here. Those are the strongest impacts on our personal energies. Asks us to find new expressions, and as we do this, as we learn to express ourselves differently, we will get different feedback from the world, and therefore also start forming new alliances. This also happens on the larger political scale. Yes, and what is bringing all this about energetically is a higher knowledge that is streaming in, that is already seeded into us, but now unfolding here for those of you who are already familiar with your energy centers and the role that they play as our spiritual organs. There's a little legend there. You can see what they mean. This is how this will subjectively play out. Yeah, I've already mentioned that emotionally can be challenging. There's a deep layer, deep level of or a deep feeling of betrayal and disappointment. Yeah, emotional overwhelm that we all need to learn to juggle here, because these surprising things, that these surprising changes, they really rock our boat now. Yeah, so things that we have believed are good turn out to be bad, and things that we believe to be good, that, that we believe to be bad, are suddenly good. So this is very, very challenging for our ego mind. Yeah, this can only be resolved by conjoining this with our heart. And of course, these explosive emotions that I mentioned earlier aren't just brewing in us, they also brewing in others. So there's also a very high chance of public unrest. And not just public unrest, because if you go a step further and recognize that we are playing out, you know, bigger aspects here that the earth goes through. Yeah, so you can say our emotions are reflected in the earth's climate, but you can also say that, you know, the earth's emotions, yeah, are reflected in our climate. Okay, between humans, this is a very new thought process for some of you. Yeah, so we can see earthquakes, for example, and volcano eruptions, also raging hurricanes, which, as you know, here in Florida, uh, is something that we live with. But in August, I'm expecting quite a bit of exposure there. So what makes it hard for our ego here, that is that we have to basically accept that there's a false reality that we believed in. This isn't easy, but we do get, and this is this wonderful support that you see here, you know, from our higher chakras. We get this like full-on cosmic soul self-awareness that only asks one thing in return, and that is that we begin to express things in a more loving way, in a more soul nourishing way. Yeah. And the reward then is a more conscious, yeah, more co-created manifestation, yeah, for yourself. This is very beautiful and will fundamentally change the way we look at our spiritual journey. I can promise that to you. Okay, last but not least, important dates. I mentioned that we are framed in by 2 full moons, so right on the 1st of August, we have a full moon, and on the last of August, and these full moons always lead to the illumination of what is hidden in the dark, our subconscious stuff. So please don't be afraid of that, guys. Just really take that. Know that these times are a little iffy. Okay, so we already feel this right now here, the end of July. Yeah, that these old patterns, this looping and this karmic hamster wheel, if you will, that this must align. Yeah, we can't just get stuck in that. It's a complete waste of our energy. And by the way, um, you know, really dark in its nature. We have a decisive moment here in on the 10th of August. So there's some good elements here in the beginning of August, yeah, that you can work with. So, yeah, there's challenges, but it is something that isn't really fully playing out until there is the first impulse, and that's this feeling soul impulse. This comes in on the 10th of August. I will talk more about this when it comes, but this is where you will have some key experiences. This is where these spiritual soul self experience that I mentioned come in, and this builds. Yeah, it builds as we go. So on the 13th, yeah, between the 12th and 14th, there's a lot that goes on. You know, we get this sort of grace impulse, yeah, this impulse to choose more love, to wanting more love in our life. And then between the 14th and the 16th, guys, there is this really, really sort of big build up. Okay, there is it's like the energy is completely squeezed there, and leads to this unloading of agitation. It's a very strong physical impulse that comes in on the 16th, and seen in context here with how this build up, seen in this track record, we can see that around this time here, 16th, 18th, we're going to see big things in the news and in our own life. So don't be scared of this, just understand the purpose of these impulses, that sort of trigger these higher consciousness seeds in us on the 20th, 21st. We're going to see like this basic, this like really big transformation impulse. I can't even begin to tell you what this will do for us. I can only tell you that this has to do with major power struggles on a global scale, and that all we need to focus on is not to go into fear, not to go into panic. There's the meaning of it will be probably different from how we think of it in the beginning. So we'll talk about these things as we go. Then on the 25th, we finally have something that could be seen as sort of this unloading of all of this, like an earthquake, like finally, it all comes out. It's a really shocking, a really shaking kind of event, triggers a lot of fear. So I say finally, because there's also a relief that comes with that. This is a strong earth impulse that is coming in these 2 days, and that can then lead people to losing it, to like going into violence, going into sort of overcompensation of all of this. So you need to be careful here on this day with other people, and relax yourself. Make sure that you are not falling into sleeplessness and these kind of things, but that you have enough self-regulation and emotional discipline, to breathe through things, to feel into things, and to look at the belief system that stands behind your own restrictions. So you guys see, how all these things, when you list them in this way that I do, and I show and I go through them and so forth, how differently they can play out for us individually. It's always a different aspect, and especially a complex month like August, can trigger the weirdest things in us, because it is not the obvious stuff. It is no longer about the psychology and the sort of just facts from the past. It is now about the greater purpose of it. A cosmic impulse, guys, is an impulse that comes from a higher pay grade. That comes from, like a larger context. So the task for us is to draw the larger context. Cindy, just real quick here before I let you go, the way this August field is playing out for us is in bringing up certain aspects of our spiritual organs that are now reforming, that are now changing. And the first part that gets triggered when we go through transformation is always our addictions, behaviors, substances, of course, as well, especially in regard to health. If you have addictions that are, sort of physically helping you to cope, but jeopardizing your health, then that needs to be addressed now here. starting in October. Other than that, this transformation of our spiritual organs, we feel this in our intestines a lot and in our throat. The throat, especially now, has already started. Yeah. Then throughout the month and the coming months, this will continue. Chakra blocks, nervous system issues, this emotional overwhelm can lead to us feeling really panicked to a degree. So we have to have good routines in play. This month also, because there's a lot of this higher power coming in, through our crown, affects our hair. So there's maybe issues with our hair. Something that you can do is, for example, hair analysis. Let your hair get analyzed, see if you have any nutrient deficiencies, something along those lines. Then, of course, it could also be that you're experiencing issues with hair loss or something like that. These are all things that tie into our energy organs here, our spiritual organs. I'm going to send the chakra charts with the recording that you can investigate this, maybe with a different understanding of chakras and chakra fields now. Yeah, and last but not least, guys, take this just as a precaution here that I am seeing a next health scare come up in our societies globally. Okay, and this will be very interesting to see how people respond. They will definitely respond differently. The question is, have they been numbed so much by the pandemic and dealing with the aftermath that they are reacting at all, or are they just sort of internalizing it this time? Really what I'm saying is take good care of your health, put your immune system into a good place, adopt health routines that are appropriate for your age. And most of all, guys, talk to your soul self. Talk to it what it needs from you. There was a hint in the energy alignment, and if you're watching this on YouTube here, you're going to have an opportunity to listen to the alignment here in a few moments. That hints at, this dynamic between, feeding and being fed, and this interplay here. When you step into a relationship with your soul self, it's very important that you apply, this being fully present with it. Be fully present with it and ask it what it needs from you. This will also greatly help all of you with your manifestation, because just like in 3D life, there are some foods that are good and nourishing and particularly good for us. And then there are some foods that we may have sensitivities or allergies for that are restrictive for us. So we need to find out what these sentiments, these thoughts, these beliefs, and these emotions are that strengthen the relationship with our soul self. And obviously, working with your continued efforts to clear the things that you don't want there. So both are important. We're heading into a time of integration, but we do need to go through this course correction here now in these next 2 months. All right. I am wishing you a very calm and sort of introspective month of August. Yeah, we'll continue talking about these energies and details twice a week here with me. And other than that, you can participate in those free online meditations that we offer on Skype. It's the same channel as the where we have the energy talks. There is one free energy healing and training session every month here, transCODES, called Connect with Your True Self. You can look this up as well. And last but not least, we have all these courses and group sessions and these modalities that we at transCODES here use to help people, to assist them on their journey, trying to pinpoint the purpose, the greater plan sort of behind all this. Yeah, so stay conscious, and I hope to see you in a few days. Wishing you a good transition into August. If you need assistance with things, request a free initial energy coaching with me, or book one of my energy coaching programs. Love you guys. Thank you all for coming, and stay conscious.
Cosmic Heart. To truth, love, and peace within, I dedicate myself. And as I am learning to navigate change within, through, and around me, I want to remind myself right now that I am here for a reason. A reason my ego mind cannot know, but my soul tries to show. My struggles are rooted in fearing what only my heart and soul can feel. Oh, that scares me, that fills me with doubt, that makes me lonely, or that pulls me into darkness, separates me from the courage in my heart and the warmth of my soul. But without my soul's pain, I would never know the purpose of experiencing the difference between the sweetness of deep connection and the emptiness of a life lived without meaning. That is what tempts me into loneliness and thus consumes my soul. I can feel what my soul needs and that I'm not giving. It needs me to think and live its divine love, to unite in one cosmic heart that guides me to overcome the darkness of the forces working through me. I can see through this illusion of my ego fear now and begin to see how it misleads me to punishing myself and others by withholding love. the love my soul and my heart seeks to unite with. But now that I know that I am one with my true self, the part in me that is unchanging, eternal, and infinite, and that helps me to remember who I truly am. It purifies and nourishes me with courage to willingly walk into the deepest abyss of my inner fear and to reunite what was separated. Gives me the strength to see through all illusions infused through collective pain and suffering, and helps me to embrace change as the evolutionary path of my being, to grow and unfold my highest potential and purpose beyond this life. By becoming aware of the conscious soul self that I am, I notice the impulse to shift my attention to seeking deep healing of my body, mind, emotion, soul, and spirit. So that all choices and experiences align with my intention to feed my soul with the joy of loving life. And yes, I love my soul more than my ego. I love my soul more than my life. And I am ready to accept all limitations as learning experiences, and no matter how great the challenge, take on every opportunity to heal and grow. Yes, I know who I am, and I fully embrace my responsibility as a co-creator of my reality. I can feel this when my heart is moved, when my soul is connected, and when my ego is challenged. That's how I know I grow. To feed my soul and to align the cosmic heart speaking to me through my soul pain, I pay attention to all impulses that show me what is healthy and healing for me, and what strengthens my inner resolve and confidence to act on new perspectives and solutions, even if they challenge my ego at first. Through this cosmic power in my heart, I can clear all attachments, limitations, conditioning, mind control, energetic ties and karmic binds in any dimension or time to any person, entity, or ego illusion. Nothing and no one has the right to violate my integrity or authenticity. I know that I have the ability to sense anything or anyone compromising the trust in myself to manifest my higher potential. Now that I can feel my soul, I can truly rest in my heart, as all there is left to do is to live and create my life in the light of love and truth.